Hey guys, IntoWeapons back again with you. Got another rifle to share with you today. Another one of my grandfather's guns. I'm going through his collection, helping him clean them up, that kind of thing. And what you're looking at here is his Winchester model 1912. This particular one, according to its serial number, was made in 1913, so it's an actual early model of it, one of the originals. This particular one is 20 gauge. The special thing about this particular rifle is because of its age, it does only have a 2 1/2 inch chamber, whereas most new 20 gauge commercial shotguns will have a 20 3/4 inch chamber. It does make it a little bit difficult to find ammunition for this gun, which is one of the reasons, unfortunately, I'm not able to do a shooting portion of this video. I do apologize. I like to do those types of portions for these videos, but it was very difficult to find the ammunition for this gun. You have to find 2 1/2 inch shells, which are only made by a couple manufacturers. It's very expensive, and they're very difficult to order with these particular companies. At least that's what I found. This gun also has a full choke 25 inch barrel, strain plain stock with groove slide handle. It's nickel steel forged metal, very nice receiver, all one piece, just beautiful workmanship. The estimated value on this thing is actually about $1,000, which kind of blew me out of the water, being that it's a shotgun. But due to its age and its condition and the rarity of the gun, I guess these can go for quite a pretty penny. So more of an heirloom piece, I think, at this point. I'll have to make sure my grandfather knows. I'm sure he's not aware of it. The tubular magazine will actually hold 6 shells in it, so it's got a good magazine capacity, and it does have a wooden plug in there, which you're able to adapt to 2, 4, or what is it? I think 2 and 4 shells as well for different types of regulations depending on your state, etc. The Winchester Model 1912, as you see here, was also known as the Model 12, which I think they started calling that in 1919, I believe. I could be wrong about that. But they did make these shotguns from 1912 until 1963, and about 2 million of them were produced in various grades and barrel lengths. Initially, they only made them in the 20 gauge, as you see here, and the 12 and 16 gauge versions came out in 1914, and the 28 gauge version came out in 1934. One of the cool things about this gun is that it doesn't have a magazine disconnect, which made it very a trigger disconnect, which made it very popular with the soldiers of World War II. And the reason for that was because what you're able to do is depress the trigger and continue to pump the slide, and it will continue to shoot as long as that trigger is depressed. So as long as you didn't release that trigger, you could continue to fire that gun as fast as you could pump those shells into that chamber. So very kind of a neat feature of this particular rifle. And I think there was only one other earlier model, I think it was the model 1897, that was able to do the same thing. So kind of a cool rifle, guys. Unfortunately, like I said, I'm not able to do a shooting portion of this video for you. I do apologize again. But what I'll do is I'll kind of give you a close-up of the gun, go over some of the markings on it, and then I'll do a full disassembly for you and reassembly, so you kind of have a good idea of what it takes to get this gun down to its basics. Alright, real quickly, guys, I'll just kind of go over the markings of this gun. There's really nothing to the front left of the gun. Working your way down here, we do have some markings on the left-hand side of the barrel. It says trademark, nickel steel Winchester, model 1912, 20 gauge, full choke. I think there's some patent numbers down there underneath that even. There's really not a whole lot else to the left of the receiver. One thing to make note of is just the beautiful quality and workmanship of the wood, the finish of this gun. Everything is just excellent condition and workmanship, which really says a lot for the time period that this gun was made in, over 100 years ago, or I should say about 100 years ago. So they really just don't make them like they used to. Towards the bottom of the gun here, we do have, I can make it out here for you. Apologize, the lighting's not very good. We do have the serial number on the barrel and then also on the receiver. And then on the left or right hand side of the gun, there's really not a whole lot on the receiver, just the ejection port. And I believe we have some writing here which says manufactured by the Winchester Repeating Arms Company, New Haven, Connecticut, USA, and then additional patent numbers and the different various dates of those patents. So kind of neat. Definitely got a good quality gun here. It hasn't been refinished. The bluing's original. Everything is just pristine on this gun. Really wish I could have fired it. Looks like it would have been a lot of fun. But at this point, guys, let's go ahead and get into the breakdown of the gun, and we'll take it apart and put it back together. Alright guys, so what we're going to do to break down this gun, it's pretty simple actually. What we're going to do is we're going to start off in the front of the gun here where the tube magazine is. On the end of the tube there's kind of a little push tab here if you want to go ahead and push that. What that will do is allow you to go ahead and unscrew this if you turn it about, maybe a quarter of a turn in the, see, that's going to be the clockwise position. If you're looking down the gun, you turn it in the clockwise position. What you'll be able to do then at that point is go ahead and pull out on the whole tube as far as you can take it, and then you'll be able to rotate this gun 90 degrees, and actually on the slide as well, take that all the way to the end position there, and then rotate this gun 90 degrees as you can see there, and it comes right apart. Kind of a nice takedown system there. At that point then what we got is the receiver and the stock. And we can go ahead and take the stock apart here, which needs just a flathead screwdriver. In the back you got 2 screws, pretty easy. Just bear with me as I remove these. You always kind of want to be careful with the screws as you're taking all these out, that you're not marring any surfaces. Down here you have 2 holes. What you want to use is a flathead screwdriver with a long shaft down the first top hole, and I have an extra long screwdriver here. It does, the screw does go down quite a ways in there, and then just go ahead and remove that screw. If you need a flashlight or something just to make sure you're in the head of the screw, go ahead and do that. I think I got her. There you go. Then you got your stock off. That leaves you with just the receiver here. Now on the bottom, behind the trigger guard, there is a little screw, flathead screw. You want to go ahead and use an appropriate size screwdriver for that. And we're going to go ahead and remove that screw. And just to make note, you don't actually have to take the stock off to do this. You're able to leave the stock on and remove all this as well. I just prefer it off, make it a little easier to work with. Once you got that, your trigger guard should come right out. I don't disassemble the trigger guard any further. At that point then, you will have a elevator here, kind of actually it's a plug more or less for the rounds in your tube. That sits in the left hand side, or as you're looking at the gun, the left hand side of the receiver. It just kind of sits in there. It's got a little tab that holds it into the side of the receiver here. Nothing too difficult. As you take it apart you'll be able to see how that works. At this point there's a couple smaller pieces on the inside here, and I'm going to pull it down so you guys can see that a little bit closer. Alright guys, so we got the receiver here. I just wanted to show you real quickly that clip that came out initially when I removed the trigger assembly. It's just sitting in here by itself. There's no springs or housings or anything. Essentially you can just let it fall out if you wanted. But as you can see, this is got a little tab there that coincides with the tab as you put it back in. So not too difficult. As we look down in here then, we do have the bolt assembly still down inside this receiver that we want to remove, and there's a couple things that we need to do in order to do that. And I'm going to try to see if I can get you a close-up here and point out the retaining spring system that's holding this guy in. If I can get a little pointing thing here maybe. It's going to be this guy right here. And there's a little tab that's holding that in there, right there, and a little spring and bar assembly. And essentially I might even be able to use this here, but you want to get something back behind here just to pry it out. As you can see, that's removing itself there. And this thing's a little bit more difficult to get back in, but definitely not impossible. I've done it a couple times now, so not too difficult. I'm going to let that fall out. And as you can see there, you have just more of a clip, more or less. And the springy side, the metal spring leaves, would go into the receiver to hold everything in. And then once you got that out, the bolt doesn't come out just yet. There's a couple other things here that we need to do. One is going to be this retaining block here. It's kind of just a alligator clip on the block that's holding it in. And we just want to push that downward. I don't know if you saw that or not, but there's one on the left hand side. There you go. And that will allow you to move the bolt to the rearward position and out. And I'll show you that clip here again if I can. Here's the clip that we moved down the inside, and it was in that original position right there, and I pushed down on this button here, and that's what allowed the slide to move to the rearward position. So pretty easy. Once I put it back in, I'll just have to make sure that I push this back down, allowing it to lock back into the receiver itself. So not too difficult, guys, but I'll go ahead and clean this up and reassemble it. But there's not a whole lot left in there. That's about as far as I'm going to take it. And I don't mess with taking this down at all. Really not worth your time. So really, when you put this back in, that's pretty easy. Just kind of get it down there into the receiver, push it forward. You kind of notice it's a little bit springy down here, so you do kind of want to hold everything in here as you're reassembling it, because otherwise it won't stay in there nice and tight. So at this point, then I would move my clip back down to hold this in. I would take this spring here and carefully work my way in there. I usually use a needle nose pliers to kind of put it where I need it, and then I kind of just push it in with my finger, and it'll eventually kind of get into its spot. It takes a little bit of wiggling. You put your clip back in pretty easily. This will go back in, the trigger guard assembly. You put your screw back in, and the rest of it's pretty much cake work. Hope this helps, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed, and take it easy.